fail to plan, then you know the other side of that equation. And failure is not an option.
No, it is not. And in observation of Disaster Preparedness Month, let us all be in a state of readiness in the event a disaster should strike. Disaster Preparedness Month this year is being observed under the theme, Prioritize Disaster Management for an All-Hazard Approach. And speaking of disasters, there is a never-ending one that keeps occurring daily on our roads. Road users, whether you walk, ride or drive, do so with care. A wise person once said, the secret of change is to focus all your energy not on fighting the old, but on building the new. Socrates. So let's build a new attitude towards life and the way we do things as individuals and as a country. Hi there everyone, I'm Adrian Atkinson and you're watching Jamaica Magazine. I'll be your host for the next half hour. Don't go anywhere. We'll be right back.
Water is precious. So we encourage everyone to practice the 4 R's of water conservation. Always remember to reduce your use of water wherever possible. Replace water wasting devices with water savings devices. Reuse water wherever possible. And wherever leaks are found, please repair them and repair them quickly.
Don't delay. Practice the 4 R's of water conservation today.
On Get the Facts this week, the Ministry of Finance is establishing a comprehensive, coordinated, cost-effective and timely disaster risk financing response. Watch as we get the answers to all your questions about this.
Welcome to Get the Facts, the program that provides you with information on government's policies and initiatives. I'm Theodore Henry. The occurrence of natural disasters is no longer limited to specific or seasonal calendar activities. They're happening all the time and at any time. Therefore, being prepared financially as a country is one of the major ways to mitigate the impact. The government, through the Ministry of Finance, is establishing a comprehensive, coordinated, cost-effective and timely disaster risk financing response, the National Natural Disaster Risk Financing Policy. To explain further on the importance is Chief Fiscal Economist in the Fiscal Policy Management Branch of the Ministry of Finance, Teron Francis. Welcome to the program, Mr. Francis.
Thank you very much, Theodore.
Let's jump right into getting some facts about this policy. Why is this important, having a policy like this?
So the National Natural Disaster Risk Financing Policy is the government of Jamaica's strategy to mitigate the fiscal impact of natural disasters. Now, Jamaica would have suffered significantly from losses associated with natural disasters.
Right.
And so this policy will streamline and institutionalize an approach to deal with disaster risks in terms of how we finance those risks.
So if I can jump in here, you're saying this policy, in layman's terms, essentially is how do we pay for the damage that natural disasters cause?
That is correct.
Ah, okay. Okay, so we have suffered from not having a policy like this, have we not?
We have definitely suffered.
What ways?
So in the past, when we have a natural disaster, what the government usually would have done is reallocate resources that would have been planned for expenditure on things like education, capital spending for building infrastructure, etc. With this policy, what we will do is we will ensure that there are adequate resources available prior to us experiencing a natural disaster that will enable us to respond in a quick, effective and efficient manner.
Ah, That is interesting. So we don't know when it's going to happen.
No, we don't.
But when it does happen, these are the
we will be
financing.
prepared for it. That's correct.
Understood. Now, in the intro to the program, we use the word insurance. That's a part of the thing.
Right.
And I'm familiar with insurance policies having coverage for certain things and coverage for other things.
Right.
Is that a part of this policy as well?
Definitely it is. So the policy promotes financial instruments
Yes.
for varying severity of events and frequency of events, and also types of events.
Okay.
So we have currently instruments that cover tropical cyclones, that's hurricanes.
Yes.
We have instruments that cover earthquake. We have instruments that cover excess rainfall. So the instruments have a diverse coverage of natural disasters.
I want to zoom in a little bit. The one that everybody knows and loves, hurricane.
Right.
Tell me about that instrument. How does this work?
All right. In fact, majority of the instruments currently in the government's portfolio for disaster risk financing have in it coverage for tropical cyclones, hurricanes. So we have the CRIF coverage, that's the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility,
Right.
that covers tropical cyclones. We have as well a catastrophe bond that covers, again, tropical cyclones, depending on the severity of the event. We have a contingent credit facility with the IDB that also covers tropical cyclone, but not just tropical cyclone, excess rainfall and earthquake. And then in addition to that, the government would have built buffers to ensure that we can respond to hurricanes that are not so severe and happen more frequently, that will enable us to address the losses associated with such events.
So the addressing of those losses is essentially whatever it takes to recover.
That's correct.
Okay.
That's correct.
So this might be an interesting question. I'm going to ask it anyway.
Right.
What's Jamaica's coverage against natural disasters now?
All right, so currently we have in excess of 700 million US in coverage.
Say that again.
700 million US in coverage.
I don't have any context for that number. Is that a lot? Is that a little? Based on our history?
Well, let me put a context to it.
Okay, please.
Jamaica's most devastating hurricane was Hurricane Gilbert.
Right.
That would have caused losses in excess of 1.3 billion US dollars. Now, for us to have coverage of over 700 million US dollars means that for a hurricane of the severity of a Hurricane Gilbert would have had a much more capacity to deal with the impact of that disaster compared to when it would have impacted us in 1988.
More than 2/3.
That's definitely the case.
Okay. So we're in a good place.
We are in a good place.
Where are we coming from?
Well, we're coming from a place where we had no such arrangement in place for financing disasters ex ante. So before, as I said, what would have happened is the event happens, and post the event, we are looking at how to address the losses. So we either did that by reallocating resources, or we do so through borrowing.
And we know what that resulted in for many times for our economy.
Yes, it has been devastating.
We're going to go to a break at the moment. We are talking about having fiscal policy in place to minimize the financial impact on the national budget. But the conversation is not done. It continues on the other side of this break with Chief Fiscal Economist at the Ministry of Finance, Terran Francis. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us.
We are in a race against time, to reverse the effects of climate change by one simple action, which has positive and enduring effects. That's right, plant a tree, leave a lasting legacy. Join the My Tree Legacy promotion by planting a tree at your alma mater and share your work with us. Every tree counts. Plant a tree today and keep climate change away.
Welcome back to Get the Facts. We are talking disaster risk financing at the national level with Chief Fiscal Economist in the Fiscal Policy Management Branch of the Ministry of Finance, Teron Francis. Sir Francis, let's jump right back into it. Now, we ended the first segment on coverage, on recovery, on where we're coming from.
Right.
And you gave us that number, which is pretty good, as you mentioned. 700 million.
In excess of 700.
In excess of 700 million US. All right. Now, where's this money coming from?
All right. So before, I would have made mention of the instruments that currently are currently in the portfolio.
Yes, you need to explain those.
So we have the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility. So we have a policy with this organization that affords us coverage of over 200 million US dollars.
I'm jumping in again.
Right.
My apologies. This is an essential insurance agency at the national level.
This is actually a Caribbean pool insurance that we pay the policy to, and in the event of a natural disasters that would have met the parametric requirements, the parametric triggers within the policy, then it pays out depending on the losses.
Fascinating. We're getting the facts. Yes, please, go ahead.
So in addition to the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility, we also have the catastrophe bond. Now, this is a bond that would have been issued in the international capital markets that allows the government of Jamaica to draw down up to 185 million US dollars in the event of a tropical cyclone that again meets the parameters of the policy.
Right.
Apart from the Caribbean Catastrophe Risk Insurance Facility and the catastrophe bond, we also have arrangement with the Inter-American Development Bank for a contingent credit facility that allows us again to draw down up to 285 million US dollars in the event of either a hurricane, an earthquake, or should we have excess rainfall. Again, there are some requirements, so they would have had to have been declared a state of emergency and certain parametric criteria would have had to have been met. But again, affords us up to 285 million US. Now, outside of those, what we call risk transfer instruments, we also have adequate buffers that the government would have put aside. So we have a contingencies fund that is currently capitalized at about 4.9 billion Jamaican dollars.
And just to clarify, contingency fund is what we put aside.
Contingencies fund is what we put aside. So from the budget, these monies would have been put aside to deal with losses associated with, as I said, any natural disaster that is within those limits.
Including drought. That has become a thing for us quite recently.
That is definitely the case, Theodore.
Now, many people, and I just want to talk about drought for a bit because many of our viewers suffer from that intensely. When we talk about hurricanes, we think about, okay, this was blown down and flooding here, but drought is no water.
Right.
So this is about getting water into places. Does it cover agriculture? So the money should be used wherever.
So wherever there are losses associated with the event, so in this case drought, the necessary analyses would be done and the funding would be made available to assist where these losses are concerned.
I have to ask, who is the funding made available to?
All right, so the funding would largely, as I said, come from the consolidated fund, and arrangement would be made with, say, the Ministry of Agriculture in order to get the required funding to those who are in need of it.
Okay. Are there any plans to further increase the coverage? We're at excess of 700 and odd million US.
Certainly. In fact, the National Natural Disaster Risk Financing policy is dynamic. So it will be reviewed periodically to ensure that we have adequate funding available to respond to natural disasters. In that regard, we'll be looking at available instruments, other available instruments that we could invest in to ensure that we continue to build our capacity to deal with the aftermath of a natural disaster. In fact, there is a plan to establish a national natural disaster reserve fund, which will be capitalized up to 10 billion Jamaican dollars.
How is that different from the contingency fund, or it's a part of it?
All right, so the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund is going to be different from the contingencies fund in that it will deal specifically with natural disasters. The contingencies fund is not just for natural disasters. So we are putting in place a fund that is specifically to address losses associated, and not just losses. It could be as well for reconstruction. It could be for recovery. It could be for relief. Once there are losses associated with a natural disaster of a particular magnitude, because the proposal is that the resources in the National Natural Disaster Reserve Fund should be accessed only if the event would have caused losses up to 1.5% of Jamaica's GDP.
Understood. We're almost out of time. I just want to fit this in. There have been a series of town hall meetings going out, and we're getting the facts here, where people come there to get the facts. What's been the response?
It has been good. We have had 4 public consultation sessions across Jamaica. We were in St. James, we were in Clarendon, we had 2 in Kingston and St. Andrew, and the support has been very good.
Okay, so people are getting the information.
But not only do we have the public consultation sessions, information is available on the website of the Ministry of Finance. Information is available on the social media pages of the Ministry of Finance. And so the information is there. The public consultation is not just to inform, though. It is also to get feedback and to promote and encourage involvement in the policy development process.
Understood. Sir Francis, thank you so much for having this interview with us. And in the last 5 seconds of this interview, you can have your own town hall meeting with all our guests who are watching. Anything you'd like to leave with them?
Well, thank you very much. Yes, the National Natural Disaster Risk Financing Policy is very important to every citizen. It will enable the government of Jamaica to be able to respond quickly, effectively, and efficiently in the event that we experience a national disaster, a national natural disaster. The information on the National Natural Disaster Policy is available. The policy document itself is available on the website of the Ministry of Finance. Please visit the website. Please provide your feedback, and you can go to the website at mof.gov.jm. Thank you.
All right. This has been Get the Facts. Our guest was Chief Fiscal Economist in the Fiscal Policy Management Branch of the Ministry of Finance, Teron Francis. We want to thank you for watching, and until next time, I'm Theodore Henry. Take good care.
Nutritious food, succulent dishes, superior workmanship, and excellent service. Jamaica is on the go. Let's grow what we eat and eat what we grow. Let's harness the indomitable spirit of our most valued resource, our people. Let's support our local businesses. After all, buying Jamaican means building Jamaica. Original.
Adapting to cashless environments is quickly becoming the norm for personal and business transactions the world over, and Jamaica is no exception. There is a pressing need to explore innovative technologies to respond to the changes and ensure equitable access, and Jamaica found its solution: Jamdex, Jamaica's central bank digital currency, the world's first legal tender online money. Jamdex provides a safe, efficient, and convenient way to pay for goods and services digitally.
We are working to put in place the enabling framework to make digital payments and digital transactions a reality. Why? Because the digital economy is the future. Because it is more productive. What does more productive mean? It means we can do more things with the same amount of time. Rather than stand up in a long line to go and get your money or deposit your money, you just access it on your phone or through some other channel. So because of the productivity gains of digital, it becomes less costly. The digital space also allows for us to include more people in the economy. There was a time when we thought of this transition as just Amazon buy and sell. But the digital revolution is much more than that. The digital revolution 20 years later, 25 years later, has become a space, a separate space that we inhabit.
Jamdex, which is the digital version of the country's currency, has been operating through the Link app, which is currently the sole approved wallet provider for Jamdex and is made available through the National Commercial Bank, NCB. Anyone with Link will be able to do transactions using Jamdex with another Link wallet holder.
Jamdex allows 24/7 movement between the wallets. So if you have a Link wallet or you have a wallet at another financial institutions, through Jamdex, you can move value from Link to the others.
So, how secure is this app?
Jamdex is a central bank digital currency. The benefit of it is that it is fiat, it is backed by the government, it has all the same protections, all the same controls that the minister will be putting in place to manage our currency. But as far as using, the latest, technological advances to secure, encrypt your data, all of that is present in Link. Another thing we take very seriously is, managing your identity. So we put in all the same techniques there as well. We're using artificial intelligence to match your face against the document. We're checking your document against the government databases where available to make sure that the person who is signing up is the person who really should be using the wallet.
Jamaica's digital wallet solution has launched their newest feature, the ABM Cash In Cash Out system. This feature will enable users to top up and withdraw from their Link wallets with NCB's ABM network island-wide. It is contactless, free, and will bring convenience to its users.
There are a lot of transactions that take place today, payments, that are cash-based, which is suboptimal. And it's cash-based just because that is today the easiest way to get it done. And I think of things like some of the work programs, right, where people work at Christmas time and they make the place look good, and the government, through distribution mechanisms, all of those thousands and thousands of persons are paid cash. The Prime Minister stated as a goal that eventually we want that to be paid through CBDC, Central Bank Digital Currency.
And just like that, it's easier to do business in Jamaica or Island Home, the place of choice, period.
Next part I show them cut it. Talking about that, listen to this. Then send a message. Disaster do happens. Be prepared. The municipal corporation reminds us of hurricane, earthquake, flooding, you name it, and preparedness.
Mommy, we really have to take this thing seriously.
Mommy, where's the emergency shelters?
Samir.
Primary school, churches, community centers. Know your nearest emergency shelter. Protect your family during any natural disaster. Be prepared. Visit the ODPEM website at odpem.org.jm to find the shelter listing for your parish. Know your emergency shelters.
integration of technology into education is the next frontier. There is a fear that somehow technology, with all its advancements in artificially developing intelligence, could replace or minimize the role of the teacher. That is absolutely not the case when it comes to education. It means that the teacher now has a more powerful tool with which they can exercise their duties. And of course, you know, it introduces new challenges into the classroom, right? But it also introduces greater opportunities for engagement. So we're very happy to see technology transforming education, particularly in areas where children did not have the accessibility. Accessibility both to the educational space and to the content. And devices such as these tablets give accessibility to both the education space and to the content. So I'm very happy to see that content which was embedded in books are now digitized so that they can be easily accessible to persons who may be visually or hearing impaired, to persons who may learn differently.
We're installing rainwater harvesting because we believe in building the resilience and the climate efficacy of the agency. The rainwater harvesting will be used to irrigate the nursery as well as for some domestic purposes. We anticipate that the return on investment will be between 2 to 4 years. We anticipate savings of about 40% on our water bill.
My name is Richard Kutu. I am from Instant Save Water Conservation Limited. Today we are installing rainwater harvesting systems for the forestry department. We are adding just about 15,000 gallons of rainwater storage at the facility, and this will be used both for their plant nursery, which requires up to 4,000 gallons of water a day, as well as for dual plumbing inside the facility, so that water will be used for toilets and flushing toilets. And this is expected to, of course, reduce their overall water consumption and their dependency on NWC water.
And just like that, we are signing out for today, but do not worry, you can rewatch this offering or other content like this by visiting our website, jis.gov.jm. Do join us again tomorrow on the same station as we bring another informative, educational and entertaining package of Jamaica Magazine. Until then, I'm Adrian Atkinson, thanking you so much for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.